Today's live, another weekly dose of higher wisdom. Today, we are going to be diving deep into your body's shaman. Because guess what? Your body was born with a shaman. You do not need an external shaman, guru, healer. We're born with it all within us. So welcome all. For those of you who are new to joining us, I am Dr. Shelley, the cannabis chiropractor. This is my amazing husband, Kumar.
Often known as the jokester sometimes, but okay. We'll make it light and easy for you guys to follow through.
And as always, we will offer our trigger disclaimer that we offer at the beginning of every live, every ceremony, simply because we are living in a very traumatized world, and the littlest of things can trigger you.
Just the wrong word said without malice or without
any trigger.
It's not even
the wrong word.
Just the wrong energy.
A word will trigger a wound that you have to feel to heal. So the trigger is the feeling portion of it. And this trigger disclaimer weaves through what we're going to share with you today about shamanism and your body's shaman.
So when we say trigger, here's what we're talking about, folks, just so that everybody knows. What we're sharing with you, like my wife and I often discuss, this is our truth. We're not saying this is the truth. This is the truth that we have found. 3 years of researching this book, both researching in way of looking for scientific papers to back up what we already know spiritually and what we know in our bodies, and also from our own experimentation and being in the plant medicine world. This is what we share. So if we say things that you don't believe in or you think we're out of our minds, just remember it's just our truth. It doesn't have to be your truth.
It doesn't. And as you're going to hear from these passages that I share from somatophobia, a lot of the reasons why you may feel like, oh, that's not my truth, is because of a trigger. Because whatever belief system is being triggered and poked, it's causing you to actually have to look at what is my truth. And it's easier to just give our power over to a truth that has been sold to us than to actually have to question and go, what is my truth? Do I even know?
Absolutely. Now, before we go any further, folks, just fair warning. Every time we do these readings, every time we try to get using technology to get this information out there, no matter how much mics we use, no matter what platform we use, we have 2 internet systems. One is Starlink, the other one's a local. So we have backup internet, backup speakers, backup mics. We are going to run into technical issues, and all we'll ask with you is just be patient with us. If you log off, come back in, it'll just give us a couple of minutes to get it sorted out and just come back in. So
just be patient with us. Technology doesn't coincide and vibrationally align with occult knowledge and wisdom. So not our fault. So as I share some of these passages from somatophobia, I'm going to invite you to stay in your body. You don't need to see us. All you need to do is hear us. Consider this a miniature book reading where somatophobia is a vibrational transmission. It is written in a way to awaken your higher consciousness, hence why even at the front of the book, it comes with a trigger disclaimer. Because when you hear certain words or phrases or vibrational frequencies, it's going to wake up something in you. And that is the anatomy of a trigger. Initially, you're going to feel, ooh, that doesn't vibe with what I believe or what I've been told or what I've given my power to. Or, ooh, that means I'm going to have to put in a lot of work instead of giving my power to someone else to heal me. That doesn't sound like fun. So it's easy to project and to blame when you are triggered instead of checking in and going, well, wait, why am I triggered? Because every trigger, even if it's our technology not working for us and it triggers you, every trigger is an opportunity to heal. So we will always invite you to check into your body to heal what you are feeling instead of checking out and blaming it on this or that or whatever, as that external thing is what triggered you or hurt you. And in terms of traumas, when we give our power to someone else to hurt us, to trigger us, to judge us, to whatever, we're not actually going into our body and meeting that opportunity to feel and to heal. So we're missing out on it by keeping our awareness external.
If you missed last week's live, we talked about the sacred secretion and the Santa Claus, what we consider as the real Santa Claus story. And again, how do we consider it real? Because we've done the research and we found out that a lot of what we have discovered is indeed true. All you have to do is go looking for the information. This is going to go a little bit hand in hand with that. And in this one, we are still staying in the same holidays type topic. Hope everybody enjoyed their holidays. Hope that you guys are
Holidays.
doing well and you have had good quality time with your family, which is what the holidays should really be about.
Or lots of triggers.
Or lots of triggers with the family.
Lots of trauma and drama, which I consider intentions to carry into your healing practice if you have one, because whatever you see in your family that you don't like, you inherited.
And I don't know how many families that actually got through Christmas without any triggers or whatever, but we've had a wonderful Christmas day, enjoying ourselves,
Yes, we
relaxing,
have.
making food, watching movies,
Journeying
and
with
journeying with medicine. So I hope everybody had a great day. So
Without further ado, let's dive right in. So I'm going to begin before where I shared the passage last week. As Kumar shared, we dove deep into the mother reindeer and female shamans and the origin of shamanism being rooted in the feminine energy. But it's not the feminine that you see in society today. It's not the feminist movement. It's not the wounded feminine. It's not the hairy fairy, what all the spiritual people are out there doing, calling feminine. It's not any of that. So woman by nature is a shaman, and that is a Chuckee Proverb. So what is shamanism? In writing this book, I researched a lot of, okay, let me look and see what all the different cultures' definitions are for the word shaman. And out of all the different cultures and ancient times where they had their own definition for shaman, here is what I gathered into one nice definition for shamanism. Shamanism is healing that occurs through an altered state of the conscious mind. Well, altered to what? To the unconscious realm of feminine consciousness. So real quick, and we love to speak our truth from our observations, not judgments. If you feel that we're here judging anyone in the plant medicine or shamanic world, we are not. We are sharing what we have remembered and what we have observed. And pausing right here, one of the things that we have observed in the shamanism / plant medicine / spiritual world is there's a lot of falsehood and a lot of inauthenticity.
well, it's the reality of the world that we're living in today. It's not just the shamanic world or the medicine world.
It's just a
Let's
little mirror.
Let's be honest. We are living in a fake world. Everything is fake. The news is fake. People are fake. Everything is fake. We live in a society where we actually promote this concept, fake it till you make it.
Literally.
You ask, I've been in technology sales for 25 plus years. I've taken every course that there is, and most of the courses revolve around one thing: fake it till you make it. So we're not surprised that in the medicine world, the spiritual world, we are going to see the same thing that we see outside of it. Why wouldn't it be? We also see ego in the normal 3D concept, but the spiritual ego is 10 times worse than that. So why wouldn't we see that false one?
Well, and I saw it as a chiropractor. I can't tell you how many times me and my friends would sit back and go, I wonder what that person is going to be like as a chiropractor, because as our fellow student, drunk every single night of the week, there at school on a rugby scholarship, not passing classes, but by cheating from, stored exams in the frat house. So we sat back and we'd be like, how are they going to actually be a representation of chiropractic when they do not look, sound, smell like health at all? And I saw that a lot being a chiropractor. I couldn't tell you how many chiropractors I knew who were not living in alignment with their truth. They would show up in their practice and be one way, recommends a certain thing to their patients, and then outside of their practice, live a completely different lifestyle. So when you look at any profession, any subset, any community, there is always going to be falsehood, fakeness, and inauthenticity. So coming back to this unconscious realm of feminine consciousness, mystics have always known that beyond this physical reality lies an invisible realm of consciousness, the feminine realm of consciousness. And it goes by many names, such as the other world, the spirit world, the astral realm, the Tao, the Mahamudra, etc. And it is beyond comprehension and logical interpretation. Words do not do it justice. It's a realm of what? It's a realm of feeling. And where does feeling occur?
In the body.
In the body, which means it is impossible to know this feminine realm of consciousness where feeling is what occurs there when you're disconnected from your body, when you're disassociating from your body due to trauma.
But this is how we see most medicine is being taken now. Is from, they're imbibing the medicine, whether it's cannabis, whether it's psilocybin, whether it's ayahuasca, and everybody's journeying, and even Bufo, journeying from the mind. We're not journeying internally into the body.
And that's a whole nother conversation, because if we really want to break it down, are they really journeying from the mind or from the ego? And that's a triggering conversation, so we'll save that for another live. So it's impossible to know this realm when you are living solely from your ego or your logical monkey mind, which is where the mind has become misidentified as the ego. Again, deep rabbit hole. So this feminine realm of consciousness is a playground of unpredictability, ecstasy, spontaneity, wildness, playfulness, joy, bliss, and cosmic pleasure. But how do you get to all those things? Because that's not what initially shows up, but that's what everyone is chasing. They're chasing the bliss, the beautiful visions, the fractals. I was on a podcast not long ago where the guy had asked me, so when we begin working and dancing with plant medicine, there's so much bliss. And then after medicine ceremony, the bliss kind of disappears. Why? Well, we should never be chasing bliss in the first place.
Well, again, we often talk about this as the lack of rite of passage. As we came into adulthood, 12, 13 years old, when we were very young adults. So what we did, and we see it happening today, we became dopamine addicts. So pleasure.
Avoid pain.
Pleasure in our bodies, pleasure in everything that we live in, pleasure. That's why you see we are addicted to smart devices. It's the dopamine. We're getting that hit of dopamine. So we go into these plant medicine with the same mentality. We just want the pleasure experience, the bliss.
The false high.
We don't want to sink into our bodies. We don't want to go into our darkness. We don't want to look at our trauma. Let's just see the fractals and go meet the
unicorns and the fairies, which I've met, however, after healing my pain body and popping through some pain portals. So this realm of bliss and ecstasy is there, but unfortunately, it's not always going to be the first thing that you tap into when you consume plant medicine, especially when you're not being guided into your body, which is where this realm exists, because you don't feel in your mind. You don't feel in your ego.
You feel in the body.
You feel in the body. So oftentimes this realm initially is what? It's dark. It's scary.
It's very uncomfortable.
It's unknown. And it does bring up a lot of, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to take my first step. So I'm just not going to go there. But once you've tasted the fabric of this realm, you will sing, you will dance, you will laugh, you will cry, you will express, you will create, you will celebrate, you will love without reason. Simply because you can, because it's the feminine vibration of creation from which you emerged. It's unknown while deeply knowable. And this is where the ego stops and backs out of this realm, because the realm is unknown to the ego, because the ego does not feel. So, for example, we have had so many brothers and sisters show up who've done 25, 50, 100 ayahuasca ceremonies, and they have never been guided into their body.
Most 90% of the people, well, 95% of the people have never been guided into their body.
When asked, okay, so what did you heal in those 25, 50, or 100 ayahuasca ceremonies? There's a lot of visions, but even the visions, there's no interpretation of what those visions mean. So even the visions are a part of the feminine realm, because the feminine speaks in this like coded language that is not linear, not logical, and is unknown to the ego. So, for example, when someone has a deep, dark, scary vision, what do?
Cut and run, lock up, shut down.
There's no guidance. Yep. There's no one-on-one guidance. Even in a group ceremony of 20 or 30 people, even a smaller group ceremony of 10 people.
Very, very difficult to give everybody guidance.
So much fear to, okay, I'm in a dark space, I have this vision, I don't know what it means, but the shaman or the medicine person is busy with everyone else or playing music, holding space for the group. So I can't ask him or her to come over and just facilitate me.
Because it's going to look selfish, and I'm judging myself that I can't ask for help, and I don't want to disturb the person next to me, and all the other stories that we tell us.
And then comes all the fear and shame of, what is everybody else here in the ceremony going to think of me? Because, well, they're not having an experience like I am, so why am I? Well, maybe I'm more fucked up than the person next to me. So what happens is you never truly get to meet the medicine. The medicine is attempting to reveal something to you, which you then have to connect that vision to a feeling in your body.
And we're not saying, folks, again, trigger warning.
Trigger warning.
We're not saying that these group ceremonies doesn't work. Depends on what work means to you. Mm-hmm. If you're going to one of these ceremonies and want to just have a sense of community with everybody taking medicine and being in that space and chit-chatting and have a embracing experience deep in the medicine, it works. If your idea is to go and be able to tell yourself, I went into South America or the Amazon and I did medicine in an ancient way and I got what I needed, it works. So this is one of the reasons that we choose in our retreat, our focus is one-on-one. We like to work with people one-on-one because we understand the value of having one-on-one combo where you're not lined up with people, one-on-one bufo, one-on-one psilocybin, it's just you and us. That's it.
Well, and if we do group, which I have done group before,
it still
works,
is one-on-one.
But it's still one-on-one.
Because each
it's
person individually gets, absolutely.
But it's very different because I'll share from my own experience of guiding a group of 13 women in a psilocybin full day ceremony. It was like herding cats because they had prior experience of sitting with medicine, with shamans or medicine people who just served them the medicine and let them do their own thing. So there were women there who wanted to rush around to everyone else and save them because they've got that savior, overprotective mother complex. So that was their wound coming out, but it was being expressed externally. It was not being felt internally. And then there were women who wanted to sit and chat and disrupt the guidance where I was guiding everyone else on their inner journey. So they didn't want to participate. Yet they showed up there to be guided into their body, but it was too scary. So there was a lot of resistance because medicine ceremonies have never been served that way, at least not to our knowledge that there's other people out there serving medicine where every single person stays in their own journey, eyes closed. You are going to remember how to awaken your life force, and you are going to remember how to navigate this feminine realm of consciousness in your body so that you can actually receive the highest potential that these sacred medicines have to offer you.
I'm doing them, and we can tell you folks, I know a lot of people, we get a lot of flack from whenever we post online or if we say certain things about the fact that we Some people have called us idealists
Or purists.
or purists because,
And we are.
yes, because we understand the power of these medicines. These medicines were never meant to check out of the body. These medicines were never meant for purely the experience or for recreational use. Look how many people we know say, oh, I take a gram or two of psilocybin and I just relax and watch some TV. That is not the purpose of this.
Out.
Look how many people are walking around now that cannabis is becoming more and more legal, walking around just vaping like they're smoking a cigarette or sitting in a bar and just vaping or popping gummies. We're altering our state of consciousness and we're doing it in a very, very casual way.
Back in ancient times, if you were going to alter your state of consciousness, you had to have undergone sacred rites of passage first. There's none today. There's no awareness of, okay, if I alter my state of consciousness while I'm in a bar or a restaurant or festival or EDM music festival, am I aware of all the other energies in the spirit world, in the astral realm? Because now I'm altering my state of consciousness. Do I know how to navigate all those other lurking energies that are not in alignment with my highest self?
And then you're mixing it with other things. You're mixing it with alcohol, you're mixing
street drugs, alcohol. So why are we purists? Because these sacred medicines are just that. They are sacred. Oh yeah, thanks for pulling the hair off.
This is literally, folks, and this is why we are so adamant about this cannabis plant. And as we tell people that we meet every time, we've done the research. Ayurvedic medicine is over 4,500 years old. That is written. This, according to Ayurvedic medicine, cannabis is one of the 5 most sacred plants on the planet. The healing that we have found through our research, that we put all of this, we gathered it all and put it in the book. The healing that this plant is capable of is mind-blowing.
Absolutely. She alters our state of consciousness.
She may not be a psychedelic in terms of what they consider psychedelics, but what is the definition of a psychedelic, Dad?
It is something that alters your state of consciousness.
So anybody
that reveals you to you. That is the definition of psychedelic.
So anybody who tells you that cannabis is not a psychedelic, please look up the definition of a psychedelic. She falls directly under.
Well, and if you have not met cannabis as a psychedelic, do not just give your power to what other people say or believe without having firsthand experience. And this ties right back into this world that we live in that wants to deny and avoid anything that is not proven, that is not visible, that is not whatever, that needs science to back it up. And we were having this conversation the other day that in ancient times, Sanatana Dharma was rooted in science.
It is a science way of living.
But it's the science of everything. It's not the science that we have today that literally is funded by big colleges and big pharma and all of these companies who have a vested interest in having a research study prove something that feeds their pockets with money, greed, power, control. So science today cannot prove nearly half of what I've included in this book because they're still catching up to the ancient science that has been completely lost, hidden, destroyed, and burnt. So when we depend on today's modern science to validate something feminine, we are literally missing out on what is truly possible, that you're putting your power into the eye of the beholder. So let me use today's modern science
quantum physics
to basically be the devil's advocate for this whole, well, I need science to prove it for it to be real, because
which is a very masculine way of looking at it.
Well, there was a chiropractor the other day who he posted about the endometriosis being linked to TMJ pain. So I shared with him the fascial connection going all the way back to when we were in our mother's womb, how the pelvis and the cranium began as one, and then the spine grew in between. Science has proven this. It's written in embryological books. But the chiropractor was, no, I hope that science one day will prove what your intuition knows. And I'm like, but it's not my intuition.
It's already here.
It's already here.
One cell splits into two, two splits into four.
Go back to embryology. That was the first class that I had in chiropractic college. So this is how deep this programming is, that unless science, modern day science, not ancient science, unless modern day science proves it, it's not real. Then you're gonna miss out on all the infinite possibilities that can be real for you, that your body has waiting for you. So the doorway to this feminine realm of consciousness has been jammed closed since the fall from divinity. When we did what? When we rejected the great goddess. And in my email newsletter last week, I shared how these logical and linear interpretations of the story of Christmas, the story of Santa Claus, the story of Jesus, are missing out on the feminine symbolism, the feminine interpretation. Because the feminine interpretation always brings you back to I. It brings you back to your body. Because those stories are a mirror of what occurs in your body, because that is where everything that you're looking for awaits you. And when we as the collective have rejected the great goddess, we have also rejected the feminine principle within our bodies. Well, that feminine principle within our bodies is called Shakti, life force, prana, chi, among tons of other names, including the great Kundalini, who represents the divine mother, because we are each an individuated aspect of the divine mother, the great goddess herself. And because we've been locked out of this realm for how long, just pause and think back on your ancestors. Was anyone in your lineage connected to their body, fully living, embodied, feeling everything, healing what they feel? Because I can go back in my lineage and I can't think of an ancestor in the last couple hundred years, at least, if not thousands of years,
Absolutely.
that have truly been embodied. Because if you look at it, we're kind of caught up in a cognitive dissonant, illusory bubble where, and again, coming back to either man-made religions or man-made government, man-made programs in history, we think we're at the advancement of civilization.
But we're not.
What if we are actually at the devolution of civilization?
All we gotta do is open our eyes and look around and we can see it.
Were our ancestors really Neanderthals? Were they really hunters and gatherers? Were they really cavemen?
How can you tell us that our society, humanity as it is 6,000 years, when every day archaeology is digging up more and more sites that the mainstream archaeology is trying to bury? Anybody doesn't believe? Go look at one of Graham's videos.
Or the YouTube channel we like, Everything Inside Me.
Yeah, it's the Göbekli Temple is over 12,000 years old. They have found a Shiva Murti that is 28,000 years old. So how can we believe that humanity is 6,000 years old?
Well, look here in Central South America where we've explored Ganesh temples, Hanuman
A lot of people don't
temples.
understand
Wait,
that.
what?
In Colombia, there is a Ganesh temple and there is a Hanuman temple. But there is no record in our history of India is all the way there. How did they know about Ganesh and how did they know about Hanuman if we believe the narrative that Spaniards discovered the West and all that other nonsense? Then how did these people, if they never covered the globe?
Exactly. Or what about Shiva's trident on the mountains
In
of the
Mountain Peru,
Andes?
that's actually written in the Ramayana. That there is a trident on the mountains of Peru that you can see from the ocean 4 miles away. And this book is 2,500 years old. Then how did this book describe it exactly? And if you ask the Peruvian indigenous people, they will tell you that that trident has been on that mountain since the beginning of their civilization.
So they don't even know
They
where
don't
it
know
came
where it came
from.
from.
Yet we're believing the history that we've been told. That history is only 6,000 years old and our ancient ancestors, they didn't live civilized at all. All of that. What if it's been a lie? Because if I say it's been a lie, I might trigger something. But we have to begin questioning everything. Everything, instead of just blindly giving our power to those who have rewritten history, thinking that that's all there is. when clearly things are coming out proving otherwise.
But we don't want to see what's obviously in front of us.
When we've got blinders on, it's going to shatter everything we've given our power to. That's why the sacred secretion, imagine, just for a moment, imagine if everyone on the planet knew the story of the sacred secretion and how to rebirth ourselves every single month. Would there be a man-made religion where
Absolutely
people
not.
flock to a church to pray to this external man in the sky who is all judging and decides whether or not you get to go to heaven or hell?
But it's interesting because we hear terms and we hear it, but we don't really feel it. We hear terms that the body is a temple. Okay, what do we go to a temple for? Well, we go to a temple to pray to God. Okay, so if the body is a temple, what do you think lives in that body?
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
Why do they call our body a temple then?
And this is the sole purpose of having a daily practice, a self-mastery practice, to literally master your ego instead of allowing your ego to master you. So you can eventually master this journey of embodiment, which is literally the embodiment, the bringing of your higher self, your God, your goddess into your body, your temple. So society's got their awareness external, praying to an external God, forgetting that they are God and goddess. We are it, people. We are it. So one of the reasons that this feminine realm of consciousness feels unknown to us and scary is because, well, what do we do once we get there? How do we navigate it? We have forgotten the feminine principle within us. So if we have forgotten the feminine principle within us, how do we know how to navigate the feminine realm of consciousness that these sacred medicines awaken us to? And it's because we have forgotten how to heal ourselves. We have forgotten how to mother ourselves. We have forgotten how to navigate this feminine realm. We once remembered all of this and more. So during the 9 months that you were in your mother's womb, you were in an ecstatic state of bliss called womb dream time. You were connected to cosmic consciousness. You recalled every memory of your soul as they were being uploaded from Mother Earth's womb and downloaded from the cosmic womb of the Divine Mother into your fascial matrix, which is the record keeper of every memory of your soul. So even if your soul is having experiences, as you've been experiencing lately, and multiple realities, dimensions, every single memory from all those other realities, dimensions, and timelines are stored in this physical body, in this incarnation. Imagine that.
And here's the reality, folks, in case nobody have ever told you. In that 9-month period, you were high as fuck.
It was a full-on psychedelic
You were
experience.
in 9 months in a psychedelic. You were literally being sustained on DMT. And while bodies have a what, love? An
Endocannabinoid system.
And as a baby in my mother's womb, what does that endocannabinoid do for me?
Well, it's going to activate your endocannabinoid system, whose sole purpose is to bring you back into a state of balance or equilibrium or divine union. But you see, the problem was, and let's use your amazing mother as an example, was her endocannabinoid system fully functional?
Absolutely not.
Fight, flight, freeze state. None of our mother's endocannabinoid systems are fully functional and highly optimal simply because we live in a traumatized world. We were born to traumatized lineages. Our mother's wombs, more often than not, did not feel like a safe space for us to be.
I know mine wasn't.
Absolutely not.
Because, and again, I do not blame my mother, and I've shared this a couple of times with people, because my mother attempted to abort me 8 times because
with a container.
Because she was so poor and so abused that she had 7 other children. She couldn't afford to have another one. So I don't blame her. I know exactly why she was doing what she did. So imagine now, if I wasn't in that DMT space, what kind of experience that would have been to me, that I'm trying to be killed before I'm even born.
Well, that's a whole nother level of conversation because that will even bring in fear into meeting your body, meeting this feminine realm of consciousness. And here you are conquering it. Like, yeah, I've been attempted at being killed since before I was even born, but we're going there anyway. Let's do this.
Absolutely.
But that is whether it's being killed or, for example, my mother's womb, her pelvis was out of alignment. I was a breech baby. I didn't have enough space in her womb. Cord was around my neck at one point. So there were traumas that occurred in her womb. She was also very self-judgmental, had a controlling mother. So there was a lot of thoughts, feelings, and emotions that were just not comfy that I was feeling while being in her womb, not to mention the chronic pelvis restriction that I developed by being in a certain position in her womb by not having enough space. And then the C-section birth. So when we were born to a mother whose endocannabinoid system is not fully functional because she's living in her own state of fight, flight, freeze, we are in our mother's womb already living in that fight, flight, freeze state. Our own endocannabinoid system does not turn on fully. So now we are welcomed into this earthly realm.
Endocannabinoid deficient.
Endocannabinoid deficient. So the soul system, like the master control system for checks and balances, for homeostasis, it's dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
It's not working. So then how do we keep ourselves in a state of balance or equilibrium?
This is why we hyperventilate.
And this is also why we're chasing a false high. Avoid pain, seek pleasure. Because it's the pain that keeps us stuck in the fight, flight, freeze state. So let's not go there because again, as I just read, well, what do we do if we go there and activate that fight, flight, freeze
What
state?
happens when I meet that thing? What do I do with it?
What do I do with it? Because why there's no rites of passages? This was a part of the rites of passages we were supposed to have received at age 12. Which would have been the first of many that would have prepared us to be able to meet and imbibe these sacred medicines, knowing how to navigate the feminine realms of consciousness. So while you were in your mother's womb, you did not need to remember that you were divine. You instinctively knew that you were divine. And it was from this space that you created the blueprint of your life. What did your soul need to heal in this lifetime in order to return to this primal feminine realm of consciousness? And if we pause there and look at that even, so for example, while you were in your mother's womb, you created the blueprint of, okay, what do I need to experience in this lifetime in order to feel and heal everything I'm inheriting from my lineage? Just as I did the same thing in my mother's womb. Okay, so what experiences do I need in this lifetime to feel and heal my ancestral inheritance? And you knew exactly how your life was going to be because, well, you wrote the script. You wrote the blueprint of your life. And your only hope was that you would recognize the clues and messages that you sent yourself through experiences, people, triggers, and pain. And if you miss them, your ego gains power and control over your script and rewrites it by making choices rooted in fear, guiding you off of your divine path. And then your soul will do whatever it takes to get you back on your path, even if that means screaming at you through pain, injuries, and symptoms to get your attention.
We know those well, don't we?
Yes, we do. And we also know that when we begin this journey, the pain body is deep. There's layers and layers and layers of pain.
I tell my wife all the time, I says, we do between, and again, trigger warning. Just because I said we do between 3 to 5 hours of our practice every day doesn't mean that you have to. Again, we are the ones who we're crazy people. This is what we do, but we have created a life to give us the freedom to do that.
But we know this is our soul mission. So when we've discovered and remembered, wait, what are we here for? Are we here to have a 9-to-5 job?
No.
Are we here to make millions of dollars? No. Are we here to just fuck off and travel the world and not contribute anything or leave anything behind?
Absolutely not.
Because from the time I was young, I knew I did not want to have children. I'm like, that's not my life path. I don't want children. I kind of also knew that I had a book in me. I kind of also knew that I was going to live in other countries. I've been wanting to get out of the US since the time I was very little. And here we are fulfilling exactly that.
And then some.
And then some. And just to give you an idea of the possibility of these sacred medicines, when they are honored and revered as sacred, and when you journey with these sacred medicines in your body. This book, Somatophobia, 662 for somewhere around there pages. It could have been longer.
It was over 1,100 pages long.
And you had to stop me because I had included rituals and practices in the book. But if not, this book would have been double the size. Where did this book come from, my love?
Inside our bodies.
And how did we unravel the knowledge and wisdom of this book from inside our bodies?
3 to 5 hours every single day.
And what were we unraveling and integrating in those 3 to 5 hours every day for 3 years?
All of our trauma.
And what unlocked this journey to writing this book?
Same thing that's on the front page.
One ayahuasca ceremony. Literally one ayahuasca ceremony. And then with this practice of the body-mind synchronization practices, our daily practice, cannabis.
The 7 Shakti activators.
As we transmuted the traumas and wounds that were armoring our body, that was keeping us disconnected from our higher self, our soul. On the other side of the transmutation of that pain, it was like, oh, here's the gift, knowledge and wisdom. Let me record it. Let me write it down. We had 72 plus hours.
72 hours. We started, folks, because the information was coming so much when we were writing the book that we would be in our practice and go, oh my God, this is great information. Let's record it. So we were up to 72 hours, and then one day the camera just stopped working.
And it deleted all of our recordings as well, technology.
And I'm like, why did the camera stop working? And then I'm like, please don't tell me those 72 hours are gone. I went into, and it was an external disk.
Yeah, completely gone, wiped out.
So we got the message, no more recording.
And we didn't need to because the wisdom just kind of flowed effortlessly. So to give you an idea of how one ayahuasca ceremony could gift us with so much unraveling and integration. First, it was a private ayahuasca ceremony because our brother at the time knew that there was no way he was going to get us to join a group of 25 or 30 people.
Or 50.
Or 50, because he knew that where we wanted to go, we needed to be served privately. So the moment...
Not from an ego state.
Not from an ego state at all.
That we didn't want to be... I was prepared to pay for a private ceremony because I wanted to have the fully experience without being disturbed or without feeling, because I knew I would come out of my medicine to go help somebody or get frustrated. So I just wanted to be I knew going into these medicines was going to be powerful, so I'd rather do it alone.
Absolutely. And in doing it alone, you spent all night doing what?
Writing. Reading first and then
you were reading this book on Mother Earth, and then you were writing in a follow-up ceremony. And at the same time, I was purging out all of the blockages to transcribing all of the knowledge and wisdom that together we were going to unlock. So while we don't have children, we have our 14-year-old four-legged guru over here who's been a child in a past life.
This is our child.
This is our child. So you received the book. You were reading and writing the knowledge. I was purging out the blockages. Then you impregnated my womb with the knowledge and wisdom. And then I also had the knowledge and wisdom within me that danced with your knowledge and wisdom. And together we gave birth to Somatophobia.
And we will tell you folks, this book, it shocked us that how well it was received. It sold 1,700 copies in the first 3 days of being released on Amazon. And it shot up to Amazon's #1 new release for several weeks. And it still ranks, I think, in Amazon, we haven't checked in a while, the top 50 books on alternative medicine, shamanism, and plant medicine. And again, the book was just released in July.
February.
I
know, you keep saying July.
So
maybe I wanted a July birthday.
It's less than a year old, but it is everything that we instead of going around and sharing what we have discovered, because we knew that we wanted to spend this time that we're experiencing right now with all these high frequencies of the solar flares, we wanted to spend it healing, doing our self-healing. So hence we wrote the book.
Absolutely. And it truly is a self-healing manual, sacred cannabis Bible, somatic medicine bag.
You don't need a healer, you don't need a shaman. You just need trust in yourself, trust and honor the medicine, and the book will guide you where you need to go.
Because you are your own shaman. So now let's meet your body's shaman. So with the rise of the patriarchy and the mind-body split that has given rise to a humanity that is skeptical, logical, and overly analytical, you have to see it to believe it. If science doesn't prove that it's real, then it's not real. Do you honestly think that science could prove where this book came from?
Absolutely not.
Do you honestly think that science could prove that from one ayahuasca ceremony of us going into our body and unraveling this knowledge? Because yes, there were certain things that I Googled and I researched for this book, but a very small amount. A lot of this knowledge and wisdom that I shared in this book literally came from our daily practice, where you would ask me a question or I would ask you a question, and it was like, hold on, let me roll on the roller a little bit. Let me do some breath work. And then we would come out and blah, 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 blah. Let me just tell you all the knowledge and wisdom that I just unraveled.
And then what we would do is take that information, put it down first, and then go do research. And lo and behold, what we just discovered, there is research to back up exactly what we just discovered. And we had never read the research, never even went exploring it.
We included it to calm the minds of those who are like, well, I need the science, otherwise it's hairy-fairy.
But the science is there.
It's there. It's absolutely there. So as I was sharing earlier, science is at the level of the beholder. And if the beholder has never experienced a mystical, magical, or unexplainable occurrence, then how will he or she know what to even attempt to prove is real? So if I'm a scientist and I'm doing an experiment, if I have never experienced something mystical that can't be explained, how do I even know that I want to prove that that something mystical and possibility is even real?
Well, again, quantum physics teaches us the eye of the beholder, the onlookers effect.
Absolutely. So the ancient Hindu rishis, which were the holy men, the yogis, they were both philosophers and scientists. They were not closed-minded to the universal truth that all matter is spiritual energy. This is the oldest, I don't even want to call it religion, because it's not a religion. It was never meant to be a religion. It's a science, it's an art, and it's a philosophy.
It's a science of life, of the universe, of humanity, of plants, of everything. It's a science of everything.
And it's the art of everything, and it's the philosophy of everything, all woven together. Their spiritual and philosophic nature inspired them to dive into the science of the feminine realm. Whereas modern-day scientists rarely dare to dive into the feminine realm. Due to what? Fear. Fear of the feminine realm, or somatophobia. The feminine realm is frightening for the logical, purely scientific mind because it is far from logical, explainable, believable, conventional, or even civilized. Yet it's in this feminine realm that you'll find the key to your liberation. The sole purpose of any shamanic journey is to escape the confines and limitations of the 3D reality and expand your consciousness into the multidimensional realities so that you can feel what you need to heal, which unlocks knowledge and wisdom to bring back into your reality so that you can create a reality in alignment with your multidimensional higher self. Except that right there, what we are seeing and observing in today's world is people are seeking out these plant medicines for quote-unquote shamanic journeys to escape the confines and limitations of 3D reality, and it stops there. the rest of what I shared to expand your consciousness into the multidimensional reality so you can feel what you need to heal. Someone who imbibes cannabis recreationally, what are they feeling and healing? We know people who drink yahe twice a month, merely to sit around with the taita.
It's a social.
It's a social gathering.
It's like having a beer with some friends.
There's no feeling and there's no healing. Because when asked, no, I don't get anything. I don't go anywhere. I don't have any visions. I don't purge. I just drink medicine and sit around and talk with the taita and the community that shows up. So where is the sacredness in these sacred plant medicines, in ceremonies and in retreats? Where is the sacredness? There is this realm of consciousness that they open us up to. But if we're so afraid to venture into that realm because there's no rites of passages, we're not being guided, and the person serving the medicine doesn't even know, then we're doing a disservice to these sacred medicines.
But we're doing a disservice to ourselves.
We're doing a disservice to ourselves.
Because we don't allow the medicine to take us where it should have taken us. But how do we know where it should take us if we're not being guided to go where it should take us?
And no one's telling us that's where we should be going because they haven't remembered either.
And there are several books. This is just one of the books that are written about the fact that all trauma is stored in the body. There's another great one, Body Keep the Score. That's a fantastic book.
Absolutely.
But there's at least 7 or 8 books written by some very distinguished doctors who all talk about the fact that trauma is stored in the body. So why are we doing these medicines? Well, the answer should only be not for an experience, not to get high, not to get to check out, not to see fractals. The only reason we should be imbibing any of these medicines is to heal our trauma.
We're living in the darkest of times. We're living in Kali Yuga.
So if we're not, how do we deal with trauma? Well, the trauma is stored in the body. So if I'm drinking the medicine and I'm not going into my body at all, what am I healing?
What am I experiencing even? And that's the question for the other deep dive of, is it journeying from the mind or the ego? Because the mind has to come online and drop into the body. And if the mind is online, but it's not dropping into the body, then where is it going?
Out there.
And if it's going out there, is that not disembodiment? Is that not disassociating, checking out, escaping?
It's healing.
And don't we need the mind and body to come together in order to reclaim the soul, to retrieve the soul?
This is, after all, what's switching from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic.
Out of fight, flight, freeze into the relaxed state, our natural state. So your higher self is not limited to this 3D reality. Your higher self is multidimensional. But in order to truly get to know your higher self, don't you think it would begin by opening yourself up to the multidimensional realities? Which the gateway to these multidimensional realities lies in your womb or your hara. Hara is the male womb. So, my love, with that being said and shared, anything to share? Being a male, not having a female womb, because oftentimes I talk about the womb, and the womb is the gateway to divinity, and this realm of sacred plant medicines opens us up to the feminine realm of consciousness. And while I can speak about it all day long, being a man who is on this journey, tapping into the realms of your body and the feminine dimensions of consciousness, and tapping into your hara, what can you share for both women and men out there who may be curious of like, well, what does a man experience? What is it like for a male to tap into these feminine realms? Is it scary?
It is. It can be. Because you're going, again, as a man, we are often told not to feel, not to express. So keep everything locked down. This realm requires you to feel, to express, to find a balance in the way you speak. You and I talk about this all the time. We are now, starting next year, it's going to be our 15th year married. And 14 years later, if we look around and we see more of this relationship, they're at each other's throat, they're bored with each other, they're sleeping in separate beds, whatever the story is. We're not here to judge. But for us, we found that we are closer together because we're doing the healing together. So,
Absolutely.
and in doing the healing together and committing to our own, not just committing to you, but committing to myself, that this is my path that I'm choosing for me, it's an easier realm for me because being a body worker, I have always been more in touch with the body.
Mhm.
Being able to do things more creatively, I've always been in touch with that. But being in this realm now where we are both healing together, I'm noticing that I have to tap into a different level now of even communication. Because when I'm holding you accountable, I've got to find the easiest way to explain to you while still staying firm, but holding
Totally.
that ground to show you that no, you're expressing this from your trauma self, and to hear you go, and go, yeah, okay, are you done? Okay, let me show you now why this is being expressed from the trauma self, but do it in such a gentle way, where before I just, like most men, I just tell you the way it is, and if you can't get it, that's not my fucking problem.
Or your trauma self would come online and get frustrated with me and yell at me, which didn't get me anywhere because I'm like, okay, we're not gonna get anywhere. It's fire fighting fire.
Yep.
And vice versa, being the feminine, I have had to actually strengthen my masculine. You have to strengthen your feminine. I have to strengthen my masculine in this realm because this realm is so comfortable for me. It's wild, it's infinite. So for me, I have to strengthen my blood vessel for the blood to flow through. The blood is the feminine realm of consciousness. The blood vessel is the mind or the masculine container. So for me, I have to strengthen my masculine container so that my Shakti within this realm can flow with direction and purpose. And that is mirrored in our self-healing practice, the synchronization of the body and mind with the practices and the kriyas that we offer and guide.
The accountability portion.
All of that weaves together the masculine and feminine, because while, yes, shamanism is an altered state of consciousness, it opens you up to the feminine realm of consciousness, we can't forget that there is a masculine realm of consciousness. And this is going to guide us into next week's deep dive, where let's go down that portal. Are we journeying from the mind or the ego? Because from what I have remembered, and we have remembered, is that the mind and the ego are not the same. They easily get misidentified, but just the same way that there is.
Well, we misidentify spirituality and religion all the time.
All the
Interplay with that.
time.
They're not the same.
Same thing with Shakti and sexual energy.
They're not the same.
Misidentified, and they're not the same. Kunda Buffer and Kundalini.
Not the same.
They look alike, and Kunda Buffer will trick you, but not the same.
Which is, even if you want to, don't take our word for it. Go Google search Kunda Buffer and see how much information you come up with.
You're not going to find much about it at all.
And Kunda Buffer is more prevalent than Kundalini, but you'll find a ton of information
About
on
Kundalini,
but none on Kunda.
hardly any on Kunda Buffer. And again, where did the information and knowledge and wisdom about Kunda Buffer arise from? Our very own Kunda Buffer. Literally, kid you not, one day my Kunda Buffer came and was like, hi, I'm Kunda Buffer. And I'm like, what the fuck is Kunda Buffer? And literally, I had to keep journeying with cannabis to keep getting to meet Kunda Buffer. And wow, Kunda Buffer lives in the liver. Oh, that's why we do sex, from anger, rage, and frustration, because that's the home of anger, rage, and frustration. It descends from there to our sexual organs. It's the one that seduces us to giving away our Shakti, our life force.
That's a whole different conversation.
And then when I started Googling, it's like, oh shit.
There isn't a lot of information out there. But there is a
One
chapter on it.
guy, G.I., what's his name? G.I. Gurdjieff?
Yep.
He's the only one, and he was viewed as a crazy man for talking about Kunda Buffer. Not many people believed him, because it's easier to believe that which is seen and visible, or that which you think is seen and visible, because a lot of what people are viewing and thinking and calling Kundalini, it's not Kundalini. Sorry, well, not sorry to burst that bubble.
Again, and please don't take this as though we are shooting down everything and poking holes in everything and sounding like we know everything. We don't.
We don't. We question everything.
We question everything.
We question
everything and everyone. We question.
And then we go into our body and we feel what is truth and what is not. And if something does not feel like truth for us, then that becomes our truth. Okay, this is our truth. But we will invite you to question everything instead of just going along with what mainstream society has led you to believe.
Question us too.
Absolutely, please do. So with that being said, next week we will dive deep into the difference between the mind and the ego, especially when journeying with plant medicine, and what that looks like, as well as how to journey with plant medicine into your body. Where do you even begin? So if you have any questions between now and then, or any questions for next week's live or deep dive, you know where to find us. Send us a message, reach out. If today's conversation wisdom brought up any questions, thoughts, feelings, emotions, doubts, or concerns,
Or triggers, send them our way. We'll be happy to answer you.
yes, we will. We're wishing you a happy, beautiful rest of your holy days, and we will see you next Thursday for the next weekly
It'll
dose.
be the new year?
It will be the new year, won't it? Well, the false new year.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other conversation. We may guide you guys down that next
We'll
week.
start out with the false new year.
Let's start off with
Yeah.
the false new
Start
year,
off with
right?
the false new year. All the best for the holidays, folks. Be safe. And I know some of you are in northern states. Stay warm. It's going to be a cold one.
Thank you all for joining us today. Have a beautiful day. We love you. Bye-bye.